Landlords are being forced to sell. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee and let's check out this article which is discussing how landlords are being forced to sell and also how they're passing on costs to tenants. So I've discussed this before. Landlord selling is, in one argument, a bad thing because we're reducing the supply of rental stock on the market. We want property for people to rent because there's a shortage. And then all of the onerous requirements that the government puts on landlords and costs associated with that will get passed on to all the tenants. So you've got people voting for air conditioning, voting for, yearly smoke alarm checks, voting for this good thing, this good thing, this good thing. And okay, great, but it's the people who are struggling to save to buy a house while they're renting are going to be the ones that are paying for it. Remember, nothing is free, so you've got to weigh that up. So, landlords cop backlash after telling their side of the story amid the rental crisis. A group of Aussie landlords have been absolutely roasted after they complained about the difficulty of owning and renting out multiple properties. Yeah, no, I'm surprised why a lot of people do it, honestly. I think it's just the capital growth that they're doing it for. It could be quite a painful experience. A group of landlords have aired their complaints about the difficulties of owning and renting out multiple properties in Australia, but their stories have been met with little sympathy from struggling tenants. Well, the tenants are going to get it even worse. The ABC published the story over the weekend, looking at why landlords are selling their properties after a number contacted the publication wanting to tell their side of the story. Alison Dougherty said she had been forced to sell up after more than a decade as a landlord due to changing regulations around renters. Okay, so she has been providing a service. This is what landlords are. They're providing a service. They're providing a property that you can take advantage of for a weekly fee. I know a lot of people are jealous of landlords. They're blaming them for everything. But in reality, we need them. What would you rather? The government runs every bloody house? No, you want that wealth not to be in the hands of the state, but to be in the hands of individuals. Or at least that's probably my radical libertarian views coming through there. Individuals having the wealth, not the state. Yep. Red alert. New minimum standards were introduced in Victoria in 2021, included changes such as an annual smoke alarm check. Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. That's a cost. Another cost that the tenants need to pay for. It should be optional, and the tenants can choose to pay for that extra service if they want it. Or they can ring up the real estate and complain that it's not working and then insist on a discount. Maybe hardwire that into the system. A gas and electrical safety check every 2 years. A requirement to adhere to ventilation standards and heating rules. I mean, I know all these things sound good, but they're all costs. They are all costs. Would you pay for this yourself in your own house? Every year, would you get your smoke alarms checked? Every year, would you get your gas and electricity safety checked? Despite getting good returns from her 2 Bendigo investment properties, she said she found it quite complicated with the new changes being brought in and claimed there was more costs being put on the owner. The tenants can do things without even asking me. And in the longer term, it felt like I didn't have control over my property anymore, she said. Another landlord, Branko Kovac, owns an investment property that he rents to a single mother, along with a holiday home and a farm in Sunbury, Victoria. Though Mr. Kovac has paid off the rental property, he recently increased the rent for the first time in 7 years from $345 to $400 per week, blaming rising rates and lowering of the land tax threshold. There you go. There you go. I told you when all of these things came in that it would be the tenants that are paying for it. Here you go. It's the tenants that pay for it. It's like all those crazy lefties that are arguing for tariffs here, there, and everywhere, thinking they're protecting industries in Australia, not realizing that it's the consumers that pay for these prices, these artificial tariffs. Mr. Kovac said he empathized with people who were being forced to, no one's being forced to rent, who had to rent due to the exorbitant cost of home ownership, but said on the other hand, we're giving them a house to live in. Yeah, I mean, that's what you're doing. He blamed the government for making things so difficult that the tenants now have to absorb the costs. That's the reality of it, okay? That's the reality. And the government needs to do this because they pissed away so much money, particularly in Victoria. Dean Champion told the ABC that he decided to sell off some of his properties after discovering that regular inspection requirements were going to cost him $1,200 per property, which he thought was getting too much. The government can change the rules, but they can't force you to keep being a landlord, he said. Oh, well, they might, indirectly, by forcing the super funds to invest in these things. So think about this. If the government pushes the super funds to invest in housing, you're going to be competing with your own money to buy a house. So not only is some of your money stolen away from you and locked away that you can't leverage it at this very time until you're like 100 years old or something. It's locked away. Forced savings by mummy and daddy government. Then the super fund can use that to outbid you on the house that you want to buy. But don't worry, I'm sure they'll bring in shared equity so you can buy with the government. Hey, maybe even your super fund can come in and buy a chunk of it too. Not under your super fund, not under your super, but you're just in the big blob of super funds. Oh boy, it's just going to get worse, isn't it? Many renters were left less than impressed after hearing the other side of the renters' debate. Jody Vanderberg, a tenant advocate who is known for exposing the reality of renting in Australia, was quick to jump on the story, branding the landlords greedy. Yeah, okay, you're talking bullshit. You got no idea. Okay? Spoiler, this side of the story is just that the unbridled greed and hunger for control. It's their house. They own it. What do you expect? Other people were quick to join in the commentary, with many taking issue with the bizarre thinking. What's bizarre? What is bizarre? That it's the government's fault that they have to sell their investment properties. Yes, it is. The government are people this dumb? Are people really this? I'm really getting frustrated. I honestly think normies are stupid. I mean, you just look at any. I've been looking at too much Twitter, and I really get the impression. I know half the population are sub 100. To be fair, the ABC is pretty funny that their renter coverage is like, I have medical problems, usually see in Victorian orphans. And the best the landlords can come up with is they wanted working smoke alarms, one person wrote. What are you talking about? No, they don't want to incur an unnecessarily yearly cost. That's what it is. Well, no, they're not going to incur it. They're going to pass it on to the tenants. So the tenants are going to have to pay for it. Another said, we're going to give them a house to live in is the best part. They think they are a community service. Yes, they are a community service. Okay? They're providing you a house that you can use. If you can do better, get a house and do it yourself. Oh, these people are pissing me off, guys. Some accused the landlords of selfish behaviour and branded their comments ludicrous, while others pointed out they seemed to not understand the risk factors involved in property investment. What I find really frustrating about these landlord-side stories is they never get pulled up that it's an investment which carries risk. No. This is changing the rules halfway through the game. This woman has been there for 10 years, and the government have changed the rules. This is a sovereign or a state risk that's imposed upon you that you can't plan for. Sometimes you lose money, which you claim anyway on tax. It's not, oh, come on. Yes, it's not the renter's responsibility. No, it is. You're going to cover all the costs. That's how it's going to happen, guys. Okay, don't kid yourself. There were a few comments who came to the defense of investment property owners, with one urging renters to try being a landlord for a minute, claiming they wouldn't survive. Well, then, yeah, no, obviously not. If tenants treated it like it was their home, they might get landlord compassion. Most don't, so they have to pay through the nose. This comes amid an urgent call to tackle the power imbalance between tenants and landlords. Last month, a Senate committee examined the rental crunch, handed down its interim report, which called for the federal government to take a coordinated role in implementing stronger rental rights and invest more into public, social, and genuinely affordable housing. The report also stressed reforming rental regulation is the priority and urgently needed to address the power imbalance between renters and landlords. Oh boy. Almost 1/3 of Australians rent their home, according to the ABS. The committee's recommendation fall well short of a push from the Greens. Oh, great. Oh, rental caps or rent freeze, the dullest thing. Okay. We've been through this in so many videos. Rent caps or rent freezes do not work. They're an artificial intervention in the market. This will cause a disruption to the market. It will result in less incentives to invest in rental properties. We want people to invest in rental properties because that increases the supply. It will create an artificial black market where people sublent properties at additional amounts. It means landlords will be even less incentivized to maintain their properties because the return on investment is worse. Every example around the world where these have been implemented, they've failed. They have failed. Okay, don't believe what the Greens say. Don't believe what the media says. Don't believe anything here. Just literally do your own research. Go look. Look at what happened in Ireland. Look at what happened in New York. It doesn't work. And yet the Greens are putting it forward. And people are taking it serious. The only way I can comprehend this happening is that people have got no idea about historical precedent. Maybe they're just young and dumb. I mean, what's the average age of a Greens voter? 20? Probably got no idea. I'm picturing a 20-year-old female vegan with purple hair. They'd have no idea about, economic, boring shit from the other side of the world unless it's to do with soybeans. A rent freeze occurs when landlords are prohibited by law from increasing rents for tenants. Conversely, a rent cap restricts how often and by what amounts rents can be increased. Evidence to the committee, the Productivity Commission said while such reforms could increase renter autonomy, it may also increase costs and risks for landlords. However, committee chair Senator Janet Rice urged the government to put aside its objection to caps and freezes in her additional comments to the report. Urgent action is needed to alleviate the burdens placed on renters by ongoing rent hikes that are largely a product of a lack of investment by government in public and community housing over decades, she said. Yes, and that's every single state government, and most of them are run by Labor. So, there you go. The Commonwealth Government must listen to the powerful evidence provided by renters and the inquiry. Yeah, whatever. So let's have a chat about this one, guys. Yeah, well, it's not going to get easier anytime soon. What I said would happen is happening. People are getting out of the market. Costs are being pushed onto the tenants. And now we've got the Greens really pushing forward to try and get their stupid policy through, which is just going to cause even more damage. We'll sit here and watch this. Most of us are older, a little bit more experienced. We'll see another generation of Australians make the same stupid mistakes as people all over the world have done, and then wonder why. Just wait for this to implement these stupid ideas, it to blow up in their faces, and then some idiot online will be going, "Oh, it's LNP's fault." Just wait. Anyway, guys, let me know your take on this one. I'm getting frustrated. As always, I'll see you next time.